Hello and welcome everyone to SBA 101, programs that can assist housing residents. My name is Olivia Harp, and I am from Prosperity Now. We're really happy to partner with the Small Business Administration as well as the Office of Housing Counseling at HUD. But we're going to move to the next slide and get things started. So just a few webinar logistics. This webinar is being recorded and you will get the recording, the transcripts, and the slides within 7 to 10 days on HUD Exchange. Click Get Credit to get that certificate, and also presentation materials were sent prior before the webinar. We definitely want you to engage us in the chat and also submit those questions using the Q&A box. So please, 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 as this presentation is moving forward, or even just during the Q&A session, please ensure that you just engage us throughout. Ask any questions in the chat, ask any questions, especially in the Q&A box once we get closer to the Q&A session. And you can also send questions to housing.counseling@hud.gov. Again, we're really excited to partner with SBA and the Office of Housing Counseling, and I will pass things over to Julie Close from the Small Business Administration.
Thank you, Olivia. See, there we go. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from today. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. Today, really what we wanted to do was kind of give you all an overview of some SBA programs and services. And then we're also going to talk about a pilot program that SBA and HUD are doing, which is trying to promote some entrepreneurship training in a lot of HUD housing complexes or with people utilizing the housing voucher system. So we have some stories to share about that and ways that you can engage if you're interested in engaging more. But we do find that entrepreneurship is often a great pathway for people to self-employment. And at SBA, we are all things small business. So I thought it'd be helpful to give you guys kind of a very broad overview of who we are and what we're about and how we support businesses and the types of programs we have. Then we'll also, I'll bring in my colleague, Terry Billups. Hopefully she's able to connect successfully, and she will talk more about the HUD SBA partnership. And then also at the very end, I do have, it's a question I've been asked before, like, are there grant opportunities as organizations, nonprofit organizations that may have an entrepreneurship or an economic development mission, and how can they engage or seek grants from SBA? So we are an independent federal agency. We are across the entire country. We have a very extensive network of field offices with 68 offices across the country. I am here in Los Angeles, but I have colleagues obviously everywhere. And this includes representation in Puerto Rico and the Pacific Islands as well. So pretty much everything that we do at SBA can be put into these 4 buckets: access to capital, government contracting, and this is at the federal level, business advising assistance, and disaster assistance. And so I'll talk about each one of these a little bit more. I'm going to try to save 10 minutes at the end, but if you have a question, please feel free to pop it into the Q&A, and I'll try to answer it as we go along as well. These programs from SBA really enable a business, whether they're at the startup phase or whether they've been in business for a little while and are looking for growth. We assist all businesses no matter where they are in their life cycle. Let's get going into the first one, capital. Capital is the one I think that most people associate with SBA. If they think SBA, they think of money, they think of loans, and it is a large part of what we do. We have a variety, though, of financial assistance programs. SBA itself is not a bank, so people don't come to us directly for the loan, but we work with a lot of nonprofit partners and a lot of commercial banks Probably every commercial bank you can possibly think of it works with SBA. But we also have some other programs too. So I kind of like to just show the gamut of the financial assistance available from SBA. It is everything from microloans, and these are loans up to $50,000, and these are through nonprofit lenders or nonprofit organizations that have a lending component. And these are great for true startup businesses or businesses that maybe don't have a huge need. They just need a little bit of money. The nice thing about getting money from a nonprofit is they tend to look more holistically at the business. So traditional banks, commercial banks will have some more strict lending criteria. They will look at the numbers and they're going to have benchmarks. The micro lenders or any nonprofit lender for that reason is going to kind of look at the bigger picture. They're going to look at the owner, see their experience, look at the idea, look at the projections, and really kind of take all of that into consideration, which is great for new entrepreneurs. Similarly, then what we call our bread and butter program is our 7A loan guarantee program. This is where we participate with, again, probably every bank you can think of. We do not lend the money. The banks lend the money. We provide a guarantee to the bank. The guarantee can go up to 90% in certain cases. And the maximum that we can participate in on the guarantee side is $5 million. Under this umbrella program, we have a lot of different sub-programs, if you will. And the one that I want to point out that's probably most interesting for this group is Community Advantage program. This was a pilot program that just became a permanent program this last year. And this is also through nonprofit lenders. So a lot of our micro lenders are also Community Advantage lenders, but you'll find a lot of the CDFIs engaged in the Community Advantage program. And we're actually hoping to bring more into the mix. But the maximum loan on this program is $350,000. So this is a great program for those who need a little bit more than they can get out of their micro loans, but they might not be in a territory where the traditional banks are looking. Many banks are looking for deals $500,000 on up. And so that always left this big gap between 50,000 and 500,000. And the Community Advantage program tries to help fill that void. Again, nonprofit lenders that tend to look more holistically at the business probably have lower criteria as far as credit scores and that kind of thing. So great program to know exists and to know who those Community Advantage lenders are in your local community. Another program that is very popular is our 504 loan program. And this is a specialized program. It is for fixed asset financing. And fixed assets, for the most part, it's owner-occupied real estate. The business has to occupy at least 51% of the property. But also if it's a manufacturer or somebody who's or buying equipment that's going to have a very long lifespan, 20, 30 years, this program might be advantageous for them as well. The nice thing about this one is, if you're buying real estate, if you're buying a home, same thing goes for commercial real estate. You typically have to put 20% down. This program allows the business owner only have to put 10% down. SBA comes in with 40%, and this is our Certified Development Companies program. And then the Certified Development Company will then partner with a bank who's going to do the remaining 50%. So it's a little different in that there's a three-way partnership as opposed to the more traditional two-way with a borrower and a lender. This is a borrower and two different types of lenders. But the SBA portion is only 40% of the mix in this one. So we do see transactions that go, $8, $10 million because well, especially if you're in a place like California, real estate is expensive. So it is a little bit more flexibility as far as the guaranteed or the maximum amount of the loan. And then disaster loans. This is a program, this is the one and only instance where SBA is a direct lender. So if there has been an official disaster declaration, whether it's a presidential declaration or the state governors have the ability to appeal to SBA directly for smaller, more localized disaster assistance, we can come in and support basically anybody, homeowners, landlords, big business, small business, nonprofits. Everybody is eligible pretty much for disaster assistance. The physical loans help to recover uninsured losses to property, and things like that. Then there's the economic injury side, which is really for small businesses and nonprofits. This is loss in revenue as a result of the disaster. So these are loans, these are not grants, these are loans, and they are activated when SBA issues an actual disaster declaration. During the pandemic, of course, the economic injury disaster loans became very popular, but they've always existed, and they exist with every single disaster declaration that we have. And there's more information on our website if people want to see what the declared disaster declarations are for their specific area. I also just kind of want to touch on these other types of financing, which may not be as appropriate for audiences that you may be working with, but it's always good to know because you never know who somebody has a great idea and what they're looking to do with it. We do have an investment capital arm, our small business investment companies, SBICs. This is our venture capital side. So SBA itself is not a venture capital entity, but we will license and provide funding to existing venture capital or entities that will then go out and do equity financing, or sometimes they do a combination of debt and equity, but they're the ones that take the equity in the company. The government never takes an equity share. But this is a really popular program as well, as you can imagine, and is there for those really innovative businesses that truly are going to change an industry or take something to the next level, a new twist on an old idea. And this is where we've had some of the greatest success stories from SBA. I can guess that probably at least half of you are probably holding one of those, a little company called Apple, back when I think they were literally still in the garage, did receive funding through SBA's investment capital program to launch and to go. And then also more recent ones include, let's see, there's Under Armour, Callaway Golf, Ben and Jerry's, one of my personal favorites. So there's a lot of organizations, or a lot of businesses that obviously all start small and have been able to grow pretty rapidly as a result of their innovation or their new twist on an old product. Also on the R&D side, we have what we call SBIR and STTR, Small Business Innovative Research and Small Business Technology Transfer. Both of these are for businesses that are capable of doing some research and development. And the hook here is that it's a project or an initiative, something the government needs, but that also has the potential for commercialization. So we could spend the next 2 hours talking about this program, but I just want to flag that it exists. There is a website, SBAR.gov, for anybody who's really interested. But this is funding from 11, I think it's 11 now, agencies, bigger agencies that have to set aside portion of their R&D funds specifically for small businesses. And this money is actually a grant. And there's 3 phases of funding. The first phase is to develop a prototype or proof of concept. The second phase is to really build out that prototype. And then the third phase is actually the contractual phase, where government hopefully purchases whatever has been developed through this. A classic example of what this program looks like or should look like is a company called iRobot, which at the point it was doing work for the government, it developed a battlefield robot that could sweep for landmines. The commercialization side that hopefully everyone knows about is the Roomba, the vacuum cleaner. So that's kind of an ideal example of how this program works. Surety bond guarantees, we also guarantee bonds in the same way that we guarantee loans. So if anybody's in construction, especially, they typically are required to have bonds at the bid, payment, or performance level. We do provide guarantees on those as well. And then our STEP program is for businesses that are looking at exporting or considering exporting. This is also a reimbursement program, so it operates more like a grant in the sense that if a business is looking, to go on a trade mission or do any kind of gold key services or other services from Department of Commerce or the state government, they can be reimbursed for those expenses, as exporting is definitely a government priority. So the loans from SBA for the businesses really can be used for any business purpose. So whether they're needing working capital, they're purchasing a facility, they want to acquire another business, need to buy equipment, all of that is eligible uses of the loan proceeds. To be in, I won't go through this whole slide because you guys will have this information, but basically to be eligible for the loans, they just need to be a US-based business. They can be a subsidiary of a larger multinational organization, but for the most part, they have to definitely have a US presence and be operating in the United States. They have to be small by our definition, and I tell people don't worry about it. Chances are you are small. The definition is pretty generous. And they have to be in an eligible business category. Almost every industry sector is eligible. We have a few that aren't, and so that's what I put at the bottom of the slide, some of the ineligible. So anybody who's a lender themselves is not eligible. Real estate investment, this is a big one because these are people want to go in and buy properties and basically just flip them to sell them. That is not an eligible use of the proceeds. Obviously, if a business wants to buy real estate to locate their business, that's fine. But the whole just investment side of it is not available. And they do have to be a for-profit. I saw something about a nonprofit poke up that they do have to be a for-profit business to participate in these programs. Here in California, and I know many other states, the one industry I point out to that we cannot support is the cannabis industry because it is still illegal at the federal level. So it has to be a legal business, and we look at that at the federal level, not at the state or local level. So here's kind of an at a glance, and again, you guys will have the material so you can kind of see this more clearly, but it just kind of shows the three core programs of microloans, 7A and 504, kind of side by side. I did put some data in here, the data to give you an idea of what a typical loan looks like. These are the national averages. So different states will look different. Here in California, for example, our averages tend to be a lot higher. And that's just because the cost of doing business here is more expensive. But nationally, in the 7A, the average loan size is, $480,000. And you'll see in the 504, it's over $1 million. And the volume that we do, it's definitely in the billions. So last fiscal year, in the 504 program, or sorry, the 7A program, we did 27.5 billion and another 6.4 billion in the 504. So we typically are in the 30 billion range when you combine the programs year over year. Let's quickly talk a little bit about contracting because I know this is a little bit more niche. But the thing is, the government buys everything, right? We're the largest purchaser of goods and services in the world. So there's a lot of opportunities here. And I think small businesses think it's too hard for them, but there's a lot of support for them as well. So I always tell businesses, don't be intimidated by this. The government wants to buy from small businesses. And, there's certain instances where they're required to buy from small businesses, especially those transactions that are 250,000 or less. If you look at full and open competition, that means anybody in the universe can bid on it. It is intimidating, and there's a lot of competition. So what we do is we have different certification programs, we have training programs, we have other ways to try to get small businesses into the game, so to speak. And then on the flip side, on the back side, we also incentivize agencies. We give them goals for small business contracts, and across all the socioeconomic categories. So agencies will have goals, and then we report out every year how they did on those goals through our scorecard. And all that information is available on our website if anybody is curious. But the overall aggregate federal spend for small businesses is 23% is the goal. And at least in the last 10 years, I would say we always hit it. Now, across all the socioeconomic categories, hit or miss sometimes, but the overall small business goal does get met. These certifications are the things that really can kind of help a small business get in the game. These are things that SBA provides, certifications. There's no charge for a business becoming certified. There's a couple that I'll show on the next slide, different types of certifications. What these are, though, they're not a guarantee that they're going to get a contract, but it does help them give a leg up. And they can then compete if an agency puts out what we call a set aside. They can then compete only amongst, similarly situated business. For example, women-owned small businesses or our 8A, businesses or hub zone businesses. So it's meant to help them learn to compete against similarly situated businesses. Hopefully that gives them some experience, and then eventually they'll be able to compete in what I call full and open competition. Here's another quick side-by-side comparison of the different certification programs. You may have heard of some of these. The one thing I'd like to point out, because I think people have a misconception on this one, is small business. So that to be a small business, they have to just meet our size standards from SBA, but there isn't an actual certification. So we get a lot of people that walk in our doors and say, hey, I want to be certified as a small business, or hey, I set up my business now. Do I need to register or file with SBA? And the answer is no. You can self-certify that you're a small business, and that's all they need to do is look at our size standards and see if they fit. And chances are they're going to, especially as a startup business. And that's all they need to do. But for some of the programs like 8A, which is for socially and economically disadvantaged business owners, they do have to go through an application process. Same thing with Hub Zone, which is place-based. It's areas of high unemployment and low income. We have women-owned and economically disadvantaged women-owned, and then Vet Cert, which is for service-disabled veterans. Vet Cert is one we recently just took over from the VA, the Veterans Administration. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through all the details here. I just wanted to kind of flag and get you familiar with the fact that we do have a lot of these certification programs. These are when we certify a business, they are certified for the federal level. So we are the certifier for the entire federal government, and there's not a charge. There's no cost. You'll see a lot of businesses out there saying, give us $10,000 and we'll get you certified, but we do not charge. So let people make their own decision on how they want to spend their money, but there is no charge to become certified through SBA. We do talk to businesses. SAM.gov is kind of, if you are getting money from the government, you're familiar with this because this is where everyone needs to register, whether you want to apply for grants, whether you're going to go for contracts. Anytime you want to get assistance or funding from the government, typically you have to register on sam.gov. But there's a lot of information on there as well. And again, there's a lot at our district office level, so if anybody is interested, any of the businesses or any of the residents that you work with that's forming a business and interested in this, a good first stop would be their local SBA district office, because then they can kind of go into greater detail about the resources and kind of next steps. Okay, but resource partners. So one of the other things I always like to point out, and this I really think is probably one of the most valuable things that SBA offers, is our extensive network of resource partners. So these are organizations, they're nonprofits, or they could be educational institutions that we fund. And we through a grant or a cooperative agreement, actually. And they are there to provide technical assistance to small business whether they're people that are thinking about it or whether they're, already in business and looking for new opportunities or need assistance on anything. All of these resources are available to them. So we have our small business development centers. Those are typically university or educational institution based. SCORE, which used to stand for Service Corps of Retired Executives. Now it's some retirees, but it's also men and women who volunteer their time to mentor businesses. And a lot of them have owned successful businesses themselves or come out of an industry and are there to be able to lend their personal expertise to the budding entrepreneur. We have women business centers and we have veteran business outreach centers. And those are all SBA funded or at least partially funded. And then we also partner with the Department of Commerce and we have U.S. Export Assistance Centers. And then Apex Accelerators, you may have heard the term PTAX, that's what they used to be called. These are actually funded by Department of Defense, but we consider them a great resource partner for SBA or for small businesses as well, because they are similar to our resource partners in that they provide one-on-one business advising assistance, and there's no charge. There's no charge to businesses for the one-on-one assistance available from any of these. And that's what I think is truly invaluable, because for somebody who has an idea and maybe doesn't know what steps to take or how to make that idea a reality, that's what's great, to sit down with an advisor and they'll kind of create that roadmap with the business owner and help them figure out, like, here's where I am today, here's where I want to go, how do I get there? So these advisors are not there to they're not going to, do the work for the business owner, but they are there to guide them, help them answer questions, get connected with other resources that they might need. And they have expertise across probably every business topic you can think of, especially when you look at our SBDC network. That's probably the largest of these networks, and they have, I know here in LA, we have probably 250 plus advisors, and they have a lot of different subject matter expertise. So they can help with startups, writing business plans. But then if a business, gets going and maybe they get to the point where, like, oh, I'm growing, I need to hire an employee. How do I do that the right way? How do I do it legally? Make sure I don't run afoul of any federal, state, or local laws that impact the hiring and treatment of employees. Maybe they need some new marketing tactics, or maybe they want to strategize on low cost marketing, because when you're starting out, obviously you don't typically have a lot of money and you might want to leverage, how do I better leverage social media? How do I best leverage the internet to market my business? On up through getting a loan if they're ready for financing. Again, the advisors will not do the work for the business, but they will help them put their loan package together, help them make sure that they have the narrative, that they have the financial projections, which are probably the hardest thing to do, especially if you're a startup. And make sure they have, I's dotted, T's crossed, so to speak, before the borrower even goes to any sort of lender or financial institution. The better prepared they are before they ever go in front of a funder, the chances their success increase. So we do strongly encourage businesses to take advantage of these. There's no cost for, again, the advising services. They can go one time, they can go, 20 times, 30, it doesn't matter. They'll never be charged for the advising assistance. So that's why I think this is, like, really an invaluable resource. And no matter where they are in the country, we do have a tool on our website, this local assistance tool, that helps you find the local resources. So it helps you find the local district office, it helps you get to these funded resource partners, and it'll help you even find some of our funders, like our micro lenders and our certified development companies. So here's just kind of an example. I don't know, it might be a little small on the screen, but I just did Los Angeles, and you can see it just mapped out who's closest. And again, you just put in a zip code and you can tell it how far out you want to go, and it should help you connect with your local resources. Okay, and I know Terry, I just saw a message from her that I don't know. Are you on by audio, Terry? Olivia, she might need to be enabled if she's dialed in on a phone number. No. So, hold on one second. I just saw her pop up. Oops. Carrie is dialed in. Livia, I don't know if you can unmute her potentially. Okay. She's the 202 number, Olivia, if you're able to unmute. If not, I will actually, what I will do while we're hopefully getting Terry on is I'm going to skip forward to slide, then we can come back to this, and I can cover this if we can't get Terry connected. But one of the questions that I often get, and I know given this group is a lot of nonprofit organizations, is my understanding, and a lot of times people ask, well, what kind of funding opportunities are there from SBA? So SBA doesn't typically give grants directly to small businesses. The COVID era was an anomaly where we did have some specialized funding authority and funding from Congress to do some direct to small business grants, but that's not our normal practice. Most of the grants from SBA are going to go to organizations, largely nonprofits or educational institutions, who then again will provide resources to small businesses. And the biggest part of that is the technical assistance that we just talked about. So if your organization has an economic development arm to it, or that's part of your mission, some of those resources, like the women's business centers in particular and the VBox, are great opportunities to look for. Once a year, SBA usually does a posting in grants.gov to say that we're soliciting proposals for new centers. Obviously, we're trying to look to locate centers in places where we don't already have them, to provide more resources across the country. But there's also a couple other opportunities that people might be interested in. And some of them really are on the veteran side to support our veterans community and the military spouses. One of them is a Boots to Business program. We do contracts and grants to organization to kind of create the curriculum for Boots to Business. It's part of when the veterans transition, or when the service members transition out of service life, they have to go through a lot of different classes and things. And one of the required classes is Boots to Business, which is an introduction to entrepreneurship. Similarly, we have programs for women's veteran entrepreneurship training. Some other programs that people may be interested in looking at are our Prime, which is our program for investors and micro entrepreneurs. So these are organizations, again, that are working to provide technical assistance to small, micro enterprise businesses. And SBIR may or may not be something that is of interest, but I threw that in there as another opportunity. This is money, the FAST grant, the Federal and State Technology Program, is for nonprofit organizations that have the ability to, usually to do accelerators or incubators to help small businesses in the innovation space, help them develop their ideas and concepts and grow. So this is a sampling of probably the most popular grant offerings from SBA that tend to occur on a somewhat regular basis. Boots to Business probably won't come up every year, probably comes up every several years. But the other ones often will have some funding. I think the Women's Business Center one is out right now. And I don't think I've seen the veterans one yet, but if that should hit any day now for funding, for proposals for new centers. So I don't know that we got Terry on audio. Let's see. Oops, I'm gonna But I can go back. Let me go back to this slide. Uh, doesn't look like we can get Terry on. But Terry Billups is my colleague here at SBA, and one of her things that she is working on is this HUD and SBA pilot program. And she could do this way more justice than I can do, but hopefully, if there's people that have questions or are really interested in seeing, if you want to participate, we could definitely connect you with Terry and have offline conversations for sure. So just started last year, and it's been piloted in a couple of locations. Los Angeles has been one of them, but it's also done something in Atlanta and in North Carolina. And then the North Carolina one was a more rural-based, community-focused effort. So what we've been doing, at least what we did here in Los Angeles, is work with the local housing authority here in Los Angeles, and we were providing entrepreneurship training curriculum to HUD housing residents or people who were on the voucher program. And we went into Watts, actually, into one of the housing locations, and had a very structured curriculum of about 6 weeks where we took interested people through kind of the steps of starting a business, introducing them to resources and getting them the one-on-one advising assistance. There's no kind of cut and dried way to do this, and Terry could talk more about the other locations. Everybody's done it a little bit differently, but we do have a curriculum on our website, or on-demand training and learning. One of them is called Ascent. It's targeted for women, but obviously anybody can utilize the information. And you can structure the program however you want. You can have everybody look through, go on and do the Ascent classes, and then come into a classroom style and discuss and bring in maybe a subject matter expert to talk about the topic. You can do everything virtual, in person, hybrid. There's a lot of flexibility. And what SBA is really here to kind of figure out, hey, if you're interested in this, you want to bring something to your community, what are your local needs? How do we want to do this? What kind of resources do we bring? Like here in LA, I went to bring in our funded partners, like our Small Business Development Center, and help them get connected and work with the entrepreneurs as well. The great thing of, a lot of this is already built and it exists. So it's not like we have to build out a new curriculum or anything. You can take the bits and pieces from Ascent that might make sense and leverage those, and run the residents through that curriculum. And then hopefully, we'll have some successful businesses that are launched as a result. We do actually have a success story here in LA that I can brag about. Is a gentleman who he has hair products, and his company is called Grow Your Edges Back. And I remember I met him at our launch, and he was saying, he does this on the side. He was trying to grow. He didn't really know how to build a business the right way. So he went through this program, and as a result, he's already sold more product this year than he ever has with all his prior years combined. And he's on a good trajectory to he's really increasing his sales, and he's now even looking at physical locations and brick and mortar and things. So this is a great way for people that have a great idea, or maybe they had a side hustle and they want to turn it into a full-time business venture for themselves. And if they do well, that means they're going to hire others. And anyway, we thought it was a great way to bring this information and curriculum to people who might not be familiar with it and might not realize that the depth and the breadth of the resources available to them. So you have Terry's, you can see her email on here. And again, I know you guys have access to the slides, so you have it there as well, but you can always reach out to me or through Olivia if for some reason you need to get the information again. Lots of ways to connect with SBA too. I showed you the local assistance tab to find out who your local offices are if you've never connected with them. And there's also ways to connect through us through social media and things like that. And I know there's questions, so let's try to flip over. I'm trying to see if I can get back to the questions. I'm actually going to exit out of this so I can see things more clearly. stop sharing my screen. All right. So one of the questions in the Q&A box is, are for-profit subsidiaries of nonprofits considered small businesses if they meet the size standards? The short answer is probably. And I say that because one of the things I didn't really get into is affiliation rules. So we'd have to take a look at the structure and how it works and make sure that if they trigger the affiliation rules, that collectively it's all still a small business. But chances are you probably will be. Oops. And let me see. I think that's the only one I see in the Q&A. I'm going to go back to the chat. Oops. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of pop-ups here. And let me try to go through the chat questions. Where in rural North Carolina? I'm sorry, I don't know the exact location, but we can get back to you on that information. And then hopefully get Terry, maybe Terry can give a little bit more detail that we can send out. They have a small 501c3 nonprofit that's providing homeless services through Medicaid waiver program. After experiencing unsheltered homelessness myself, with these programs applied to us given our nonprofit status. So as a nonprofit itself, you can probably utilize a little bit of the business advising services, especially through SCORE. But unfortunately, like the loan programs, you would not be eligible for. Federal contracts go both ways. Most agencies are looking for businesses, but some will also contract with nonprofits as well. It really depends on the need or what they're looking for. Grants obviously typically go to nonprofits as opposed to for-profit entities, but don't exclude yourself on the contracting side. There's definitely some opportunities for nonprofits to engage on that side as well. There is a website you may or may not be familiar with called usaspending.gov. So usaspending.gov, and that actually has all the government spend on it. So it's not just grants or contracts, it's everything, direct payments, everything. But it's pretty user friendly, and you can use it to do some market research, do some homework to see what organizations, may be looking to do business with nonprofits or have done business with nonprofits, and what sectors that they're working in and that kind of stuff. You can, I don't know, there's probably 30, 40 filters on there. It's pretty robust in the sense of how you can carve out the filters to see what you can really drill down to look for information. I would say there are probably agencies, I think, and HHS and its sub-agencies probably do engage more with nonprofits, for example, but I wouldn't rule out that as a possibility. Let's see, where in rural North Carolina? Okay, sorry, people, I'm not 100% certain. Connect with Terry. Okay, see, Rosalind. How can nonprofits add this business model to it line of business? So I guess I probably wanted to know more about what you're looking, if it's tapping into SBA's core services are really for small businesses itself. But if you're looking to develop more of an economic development piece to your nonprofit, I'm not sure exactly which way you're going with that question. If you're able to Olivia, if we're able to unmute Rosalind, I'd happy to see if she has more detail to provide. If not, we certainly can talk offline. Okay.
So we are a HUD housing counseling agency, and so as housing is becoming a struggling business now, we wanted to see how it is that we might be able to add small business to our business line.
Mm-hmm. And I think you can go in a lot of directions with that. If you're, I would start with maybe looking to see who's already in the marketplace where you are, whether it's women business centers and SBDC, any of the SBA funded programs, or it could be another nonprofit or another association, just to kind of get the scope of the landscape, and then figure out what you're able to do if you are if you have in-house expertise, somebody that can start working with businesses, if you need to get funding before you can go into that space. There's probably some local grant programs too, or other things, state programs even, that you might be able to tap into initially. And then if you build up a little bit of experience in the economic development, business development space, then I think you'd be a really good candidate for something like a Women Business Center grant. I think, going into that space, like a Women Business Center or a Veteran Business Outreach Center, you're going to want to demonstrate a little bit of a track record. I mean, I'm not talking about, 20 years worth, but to show that you've got, hey, this is part of our mission. This is something we've been working on for a year or two at least, and now we want to amplify it. And we believe that these funds through those types of programs will help you there. But at the local, I would first probably look locally, especially maybe state or even other nonprofits that might be looking to amplify business outreach and business development. I know a lot of counties sometimes will be looking for support too, and they'll be looking to nonprofit organizations to help them expand, especially if you're able to reach a community that the county or the state has not been able to reach very well, and they want that. They want to work with an organization that has, a trusted relationship with the community already. So those are just a few off the top of my head, but, happy to talk to more with you as well. And when we know where you are, help you find the local resources that you might want to talk to as well. Okay. I'm scrolling through. Olivia, if you see I missed a question, please feel free. I'm trying to scroll through the chat questions. Yeah, copy of the presentations will be available. Oh, I see call-in user. I don't know if that's Terry or not.
I'm here, finally.
You're here. So the first question we have, Terry, it seems that
So
people
I
want to know
heard-
where in North Carolina we did the.
Yes, so I tried to put it into the chat. So it was in Wilson, North Carolina, and it was with the Housing Authority there. And we partnered with HUD, and that was a one-day event that we did. So that was the beauty of us partnering with nonprofits and HUD, our other federal partner, to be able to do this work. And we can tailor it to the needs of the community. So that community, they thought that that would be the best approach, so we did it that way. And as Julie mentioned, we've been able to do the Ascent curriculum and partner with different partners and tailor it to the needs of that community. And she alluded to the fact we've done it in LA, we've done it in Atlanta. In Atlanta, the Atlanta Housing Commission took it and did their own thing. Right now, I'm building out something with the City of Detroit Housing Commission and HUD. So we're going to do probably something a little bit different for Detroit. So for those of you who are interested, the approach is more of a train-the-trainer approach. So we can go through how we've done it, and then you can tailor it using our content, or if you have your own content, you can add that in as well. And I think that's the beauty of it, that we'll be able to meet folks where they are and adjust the programming to the needs of the community.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Terry. I'm going back through. Yep, we've got a couple. Yeah, people interested in Detroit. And it looks like we've got some interested parties, Terry, so we might make you a little bit busier here after this.
Okay, well, you know what? This is a passion project. Julie knows that those of us who are at SBA and been here for a while, we love what we do. So this is the best part of the work that we get, is when we can connect with people and try to make a difference. So I look forward to hearing from you. Julie, I know, shared my contact information, so feel free to reach out to me, and I will get back with you. Please give me a little bit of grace. If I don't get back with you with the same day, I'll try to get back with you within a couple days. So I look forward to hearing from you, and if you have more questions, you can shoot me an email, or I'll give you my number as well if you want to call me. The number is 202-368-4674, and that's a cell number. So give me a call, leave me a voicemail, and I will get back with you, and we can chat about what the needs are in your community and your organization, and we'll figure out how we might be able to partner.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, even if you're maybe not, you don't need to want to do anything this formal, you may want to connect with your local district office if you've never done that before, just to kind of even get on their mailing list or their email blast, I should say. Nobody mails things anymore, right? But the email list is so that you can stay up to date on programs or initiatives or things that are going on, because you never know when you're, you know, working with the people in the housing or in the voucher housing programs. Things come up and they're, you know, you find out, oh, wait, they are interested in entrepreneurship. They have an idea. Look, there's resources I can connect you with. And then similarly, you know, our businesses, when they do well, they want to hire employees, and they want to make sure their employees have, you know, appropriate housing and have a safe place to be. So, you know, it all comes full circle, I think.
And Julie, thank you so much. I don't want to be remiss in thanking you for pinch hitting. And just so you all know, Olivia and Rob and the team did a great job in preparing us. We did a run through, and as technology would have it, sometimes it has a mind of its own. Everything worked perfectly when we tested it. So thank you to all of you who've tried to get me online, and I'm just sorry that I didn't get to attend the whole thing, but Julie did a great job, as she always does. And I really appreciate the fact that she brought up your district offices. You need to have a relationship with your SBA district office, because they're all experts and they know the community. And even if it's something they can't help you with directly, sometimes they can get you to the right folks if it's not something that falls exactly within our purview. So get to know us. You'll find there's a lot of experts in the field that love what they do.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we just want to make sure, especially people with entrepreneurial aspirations, are connected to all the resources, because, and maybe you guys use the same phrase with everyone, like they don't have to do it alone. There's a lot of services out there for them, and most of them are already paid for by their tax dollars. So we really want them to take advantage. And then I'm not seeing any new questions. I'm sorry if I missed anyone, but Rob or Olivia, I don't know if you want to add anything.
But if we could pull up the slides, we could do just kind of our exit information, resources, and things. Thank you.
Sure.
There is one question in the chat, Julie, as you're pulling up those slides, but it says, during a federal or state disaster, can SBA help facilitate emergency Section 8 vouchers? This is from Michelle Harrison.
Oh, you know, one of the things that we often do, especially in a larger scale disasters, is we have resource centers that we pop up with, and though they would absolutely be able to participate in the resource center. That's something we welcome, because we try to get in as many resources to support the community during those times as possible. That would be the immediate thing that I think would work best, but definitely talk to, before something happens, I would definitely reach out to your local district office and let them know that, you know, should there be a local disaster, that you guys would like to work together. Absolutely.
Thank you, Julie, so much for that. I know we were chatting a little before the webinar, and I was just like, I'm not a housing expert. Like, I don't really know a lot about this, but I definitely learned so much. I had my handy dandy notepad right here, trying to take in all the great information so that we can be a better resource to our communities here at Prosperity Now. So please be sure to check out the training archives. The webinar materials will be posted on the HUD Exchange within 7 to 10 days. Again, yeah, thanks for dropping that in the chat, Rob. And thank you so much, Rob, for helping us get this learning opportunity to the audience today as well. And also, don't forget to get credit for this training. All you have to do is select the webinar and click Get Credit for this training to make sure that your attendance and your participation here is counted. I agree, Deborah. This has been a great presentation. We love resources, so here's another one. Please visit the training digest on HUD Exchange for the Housing Counseling Training Digest, and you'll be able to view upcoming trainings by HUD and other partners. And then before you go, of course, continue to keep those kudos coming through the chat. I'm sure that Julie, Terry, Rob are really happy to see that you all benefited from this learning opportunity. So please continue to keep that feedback back coming into the chat. But we also have a post-event survey that will be popping up as soon as we end the webinar. So please respond to that as well and provide us with feedback, questions, comments, all of that good stuff so that we can continue to improve our learning opportunities as time goes on. And here are some more resources. So of course, find the Office of Housing Counseling at hudexchange.info/counseling. Make sure you check out the counselor training and testing website. And you can always email any questions, comments, requests to housing.counseling@hud.gov. And make sure that you keep in touch to get more of this great information.
We just have one here.
We have another question, Julie.
I'm not certain. It's hard to see when I'm sharing screens.
I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, I don't see any additional questions. You're just getting a whole bunch of kudos and thank you and great information. I'm so happy I came. So I'm glad that you pointed that out because everyone's really happy with the presentation. So thank you again for coming today. Please enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekends, and you'll be hearing from us soon. So have a great one. Thank you.